And I'm back, this time with A Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs. I read this for a marsathon, which is a read-along that's being hosted by 5 booktubers. I believe it's 5. I will get the links for all of their channels and put them in the description of this video. I personally saw it on Steve Donahue's channel, and then I later saw it on Pints and Paperbacks, who I've recently started watching. He is also one of the hosts. So I'll make sure I get all of the hosts and put their channel links there. So yeah, I ordered this to read with that. I've always wanted to read these novels, or I should say for a lot of years. I think my dad read these when I was a kid. My dad was real into this kind of thing. He kind of introduced me to fantasy and science fiction, and he drug us kids to the movie theater to see Star Wars and Back to the Future and all these different things, So I've wanted to read these for a long time. This was the perfect opportunity to do that. If you are going to participate in this read-along and you order and you don't have the books and you're going to order them, don't buy this copy. I don't recommend this copy at all. I loved the cover art, which is what drew me to it. But if you are someone who needs reading glasses, the print is super, super tiny. Look how tiny the print is. If you need reading glasses, this is going to work for you. Also, there's a lot of formatting issues and proofreading issues throughout this book, so I don't recommend this copy. But there's plenty of editions to choose from, so you will have no trouble finding it. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this novel. I absolutely loved it. It was published in 1912, and I thought it was exceptionally imaginative and creative, especially for the times in which it was published. I mean, in 1912, I just can't even imagine the things that this author came up with in 1912. The world building was excellent. I loved the world building. The main character in this book is named John Carter, and he is a Confederate soldier, and he somehow is transported out of his body and onto Mars with his body. So his body is sort of existing in 2 places at once, which he doesn't really give an explanation for that. But I didn't care about having an explanation for that. It made an amazing story. So he's on Mars, and Mars is a sort of, the societies there are sort of a mix between a very simple way of life and being technologically advanced, but it's a different kind of technology than what we have today. For instance, they have airships that they use to move around, to transport themselves through the sky, and the technology that he explains as being used sounds very scientific, but it doesn't work with real science, of course. So even though there's no magic or anything of the sort, everything is science-based, but it's not real science. So it's more along the line of Star Wars, although Star Wars does actually have a little bit of sort of magic, with the Force and everything, even though it also has scientific explanation. So, yeah, but I was really impressed with the imagination that went into this. And he really takes the time to explain all of the technology and how the societies work and the mental attitudes of the citizens, because there's essentially 2 races. There's a more human-like race, and then there is also I don't want to say reptile, but kind of, because they're green and they have big tusks and they have multiple arms and all this sort of thing. So multiple arms seems to be a thing in that world, which I thought was kind of fascinating. And both the humanoid race and the lizard type race lay eggs. So I just thought it was very interesting, and everything was very, very pretty thoroughly explained. I was pretty impressed with that, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it quite a bit. I was very impressed for a novel that came out in 1912. I couldn't believe how forward thinking this was. I mean, the people there don't wear clothes, and they don't understand Earthlings, the preference of Earthlings to wear clothes. Like they have a kind of telescope where they can see something as small as a blade of grass on all the other planets in the solar system. And so they have been observing Earth, even though they can't go to Earth and they can't communicate with Earth. They have been observing Earth, and they don't understand the clothing to them, that's extremely strange and bizarre, and they can't even understand the concept of clothing. So everybody's naked and they just wear sort of ornaments, you know, like she has like breast cups in this. No, she's not wearing breast cups in the book at all. Nobody's wearing those kinds of coverings. They're just wearing essentially jewelry, in ornamental type trappings. So, and so do their mounts. So yeah, anyway, I really enjoyed this. It was not super action packed, but there was action in it. I think it would satisfy a person who enjoys a more character driven novel, a person who enjoys an adventure novel, and I think it would also suit a person who does like a lot of action. Even though there isn't a, you know, whole lot of action, there is enough to satisfy an action person, I think. My only real complaint about this was kind of Mr. Burroughs' writing style, where the story was well told and well explained and imaginative and creative and all those things. It was very cold. It was very cold. I could not connect with any of the characters on an emotional level until about halfway through the book. It took me that long to make a connection with the characters. Everything is being told in a sort of, it's like hearing in a sort of monotone almost. It's like somebody telling you an incredibly fascinating story, but they're talking like this the whole time and just being very matter of fact, and there's no inflection or no excitement or no disappointment, but things were disappointing and things were exciting, but the emotion of that is completely left out, almost entirely left out. It was about halfway through the book before he really started injecting a little bit of emotion, but there still wasn't a lot. Even when he was talking about the emotions that should be extreme, it was very coldly narrated. I didn't care for that style very much, but it really didn't take away from my enjoyment of the novel that much. I still gave this 4 stars on Goodreads. I still loved it. And I still would absolutely recommend that that anybody who is into this kind of thing read it. It's absolutely worth reading. And you know, it's short. It's not that long. It didn't take me that long to get through, you know. I did have a couple of other complaints about this. John Carter, he can just do everything. He just automatically can do everything perfectly. Even though the indication that it does take him some time to master these things on Mars, he has no trouble mastering them whatsoever. Everything. And he has enhanced strength and enhanced speed. And where everybody communicates through some kind of telepathy on Mars, he can also communicate telepathically, but nobody can read his mind. See, so that gives him this huge advantage. He's stronger than everybody. He's faster than everybody. Plus, he can read their minds, but nobody can read his, you know. I mean, it was just, that was kind of ridiculous, you know. However, he's an over-the-top kind of character, and that's fine with me, too. That's fine. I do prefer a more complex sort of character, or a character with weaknesses, but didn't mind the fact that he was over the top at all. It really didn't take away from the story at all, because the story is so creative and so much fun that you just don't even mind. The other kind of complaint I had was he falls in love with the girl pictured on the cover, and it's like love at first sight. You know, I just felt like, come on, you know, it was he just fell in love with her immediately, and I was eye rolling. Oh, come on now. But again, it's fine, you know. I mean, it's just, this isn't reality. It's fiction, and it is over the top fiction, and I didn't mind, you know. So yeah, I didn't feel like it took anything away from the story. But yeah, I did feel like it was a convenient plot tool, though. I will say that. I feel like he needed something to lay some of the other work of the story onto, and I feel like that's in there for that reason. I mean, because really, if he had told it in a different way, he wouldn't have needed to insert the love at all. I mean, it just seemed a little bit unnecessary. But like I said, I didn't mind it at all. It was still a heck of a lot of fun. And yeah, I won't really complain about it. I'm just going to point it out because it was a thing that might bother some people. The other thing that he does is, not only is he kind of a Mary Jane character, but he also, everything turns out fine for him. Everything, even when he has, everything is good luck, everything is good fortune. But even when he does have bad fortune or bad luck, even those bad things still turn out just perfectly. These bad things end up being good things after all. So I thought that was also silly. So where those kinds of things do bother some people, I know, I thought I should mention them just in case. But like I said, those things are there, but they don't take away from the story. I was thoroughly entertained by this. I absolutely loved it. Like I said, I still gave this 5 stars. I mean, not 5 stars. I still gave it 4 stars. I couldn't give it 5 stars because of all of the problems that I had just mentioned. But anyways, yeah. Oh, see, I got distracted, started rambling, and forgot what I even wanted to tell you. And that was, not only is he a Mary Jane type, but also he sort of Forrest Gumps his way through Mars. That's what I was picturing as he was making his way through Mars and the Martian men and their customs and all of these things. It was just like he just sort of Forrest Gumped his way. He's just going do 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 do, and everything he does just happens to be the right thing to do, for the situation. So yeah. Anyway, okay, I'm about to spoil. Just a tiny spoiler. Spoil a little something about the romance. I don't personally feel like it's a big, huge, important part of the story, which is why it didn't occur to me that I probably shouldn't say that. But if you don't want to be spoiled on it, just turn the video off now. You're not going to miss anything. I do want one explanation. I hope that this is explained in the later novels, because I am going to continue this series. The Martians all lay eggs. That's how they reproduce, is with eggs. And humans reproduce with live births, yeah, humans reproduce with live births. I had to think for a minute. I'm like, wait a minute, do I mean mammals? No, I mean humans, reproduce with live births. So I would like to know how that works between a human and a Martian woman who lays an egg. Exactly how is the biology mixing there? I hope he gives us some kind of an explanation. It doesn't have to be realistic. It just has to make sense within the context of the world for me, which Edgar Rice Burroughs does do. All of his, non-realistic stuff makes, at least it's an explanation for the context of this world. So anyway, yeah, I hope there's an explanation for that later, some kind of an explanation. So anyways, that is my 2 cents on this book. And I'm not going to say I'll see you in the next video.